About River Basin Management Plan. This is a national document. It is accepted on the basis of a few articles in Water Framework Water Act. It is to be accepted with a decree, the decree that I mentioned just before. It sets out mechanisms for policy management in the water sector. It is the basis for the achievement of good water status in Slovenia until 2015, which means that there are some measurements that have to be taken into account in order to achieve good water status. This program of measures that will be accepted together with this decree says which basic measures have to be taken and which supplementary measures have to be taken in order to achieve this good water status. It deals, of course, with surface and groundwater bodies, and it defines and justifies exceptions if for some reason environmental objective, which is good water status, won't be achieved until 2015. The contents of River Basin Management Plan are a description of administrative regulation, so how this River Basin Management Plan was accepted, the summary of methods and results of state monitoring, overview of important water management issues, then areas with specific requirements, which areas are the ones that are problematic, where the good water status cannot be achieved, and what are the measures that have to be taken in order to achieve this good water status. Then there is elaboration of water management objectives, summary of basic and supplementary measures which have to be taken, and financial resources and public outreach activities. This is something that our River Basin Management Plan has to have in order to be accepted. So why was I giving you this overview of River Basin Management Plan and the implementation of Water Framework Directive into our legal system? Because I wanted to show you that all this procedure, which I will explain now, has to go to CI direct, has to go to a CI procedure followed by CIA directive. So this River Basin Management Plan is a procedure that goes through this through CIA obligations. So the CIA directive.
Maybe just a little clarification because of the translation of these SEA. Znači SCA to je ova strateška procjena utjecaja na okoliš. Čisto zato jer prevodioci nisu stručni pa možda ne znaju o čemu se radi.
Here is just the full name of the directive. I was just wanting to. It's a directive that was accepted by the European Parliament and Council on the assessment of the effects of certain plans and programs on the environment. The objectives of these directives are that we should achieve higher environmental protection. We should integrate environmental considerations into preparation of plans and programs, and we should promote sustainable development through the acceptance of these plans and programs. What is important by the CIA directive is that this procedure is carried out only in cases where it is determined that these programs or plans will have significant effect to the environment. If we somehow look at CIA directive versus Water Framework Directive, we can say that they are complementary. and they provide broadly similar environmental assessment. They both derive from the DPSIR model, which is used to assess and manage environmental problems. What is this DPSIR model? It is a structure where D means driving forces. These are the forces that are driven by human activities, by which we increase or mitigate pressures or impacts to the environment. With these pressures to the environment, which we cause, when we have wastewater or other pollution, we put some pressures to the environment with our human activities. Then, if we monitor the state of the environment, we see that what kind of water quality do we have when we assess the water, or what kind of air quality we have. With all this, with our pressures and with our pressures to the environment, we cause impacts, and that is why we affect the environment. We degrade. We degrade the environment. We put some pressure on the environment. We have the environmental degradation, which is caused, which results in environmental loss, economic damage, and right now we have to respond to all these negative activities that human are causing to the environment. For that reason, we put in place some legislation. We put in place some. We promote cleaner production. We promote we teach children how to live, how to act in such a way that we protect the environment. So this is kind of a circle, and if we degrade our environment, whether our impacts are too big. So for that reason, our responses have to be even bigger if we want to preserve the environment. So legal basis for strategic environmental assessment. I decided to show you how this was transposed and how it is implemented in Slovenian legal system, because the transposition of CIA directive was, I could say, perfect. We almost copied the provisions set in CIA directive. So there are no differences between the CIA directive and between, or they are, but they are very minor. I will explain it later which ones are, where the differences are. So the CIA directive, as I explained before, was transposed into our legal system into Environmental Protection Act. Articles 40 to 49. So if you see these points that I pointed out, the CIA is carried out for projects that are likely to have substantial impact to the environment, for plans and programs that are likely to have substantial impact to the environment. The CIA procedure is made in order to determine and evaluate impacts on the environment and the integration of the requirements of environmental protection, nature conservation, protection of human health and cultural heritage into the plan. And afterwards, a certificate shall be obtained from the ministry on the acceptability of the implementation of the plan for the environment. So in Slovenia, a strategic environmental assessment shall be carried out for a plan or a program which is adopted by the law. in respect of water management, if it lays down or foresees an activity affecting the environment, for which an EIA procedure, so environmental impact assessment, needs to be done, or if it is determined in Natura 2000 provisions, or if in special cases the ministry itself decides that CIA has to be carried out because this project will have an impact to the environment. So because of these provisions, also it was decided that also CIA needs to be carried out for the river basin management plan for the Danube and Adriatic Sea. So we have also an implementing act for the strategic environmental assessment. It is a decree laying down the content of environmental report and on detailed procedure for the assessment of the effects on certain plans and programs on the environment. So this decree sets out how the environmental report should be prepared, how much and which kind of information needs to be in the environmental report. The environmental report is a document which identifies, describes and evaluates significant environmental impacts on the implementation of the plan, on the environment, human health, nature conservation, and possible alternatives which have to be taken into account. It also sets out in detail the issues of the process for the performing plans and programs, planning or other acts for strategic environmental assessment which are being implemented in accordance with the Environmental Protection Act. So this is a very important decree which has to be followed through the CIA procedure in order to have a proper environmental report and in order to have the strategic environmental assessment rightly done. So according to our Environmental Protection Act, CIA procedure is done in 2 stages. The first stage is the stage where it has to be decided whether the plan or the program has such an impact that the CI procedure has to be done, and how important or how severe these impacts are. So ministry issues a decision on the basis of which CIA procedure is done or is not done. If it is, in this first stage, if it is clarified that the impacts to the environment won't be so important, the ministry says CIA procedure is not needed and it does not have to be carried out. So in the second stage, the impacts on the plan's implementation and their acceptability are assessed.